Okay, the first thing that we're going to do before we actually talk about data files is we're going to just take a look at some of these input CN member functions that are useful. We're going to look at some of these programs, and so if we pull up our source code folder from Gaddis, we're going to look at the first program was program 3-24. And I'm just going to mention that we have pound include IO stream up here. You're going to want to watch the pound includes that you need, and we might need to add some more, I found. And so this one declares a character, and it uses a cn.get ch command, and it just basically there's 3 different ways that you can pause the screen, and one of them just uses a cn.get and it brings in a parameter there and so if you want to hold the character that was entered, then you can put that into the a variable. The second one is storing the variable in a little bit different way, using using cn.get, and then it stores that value, because cn.get, sometimes you'll hear me say cn.get, cn.get. I'm referring to the same thing. The cn.get here is just going to take a value and then store it to the variable, and if you don't want to store the variable, you can just use the cn.get without storing it at all. The second program that was on our list that I'm going to look at is program 325, and some of these we might try to run into the GDB compiler because it'd be nice to see how some of these execute. And so this one is kind of nice, and I'm going to just go ahead and copy this code, except I have to open it in Notepad++ first in order to do that. And so if I copy this code, and I'm just going to look at my pound includes, I have an IO stream and string, and using namespace standard, I'm just going to copy from int main down. And then let's go ahead and use our online compiler, which is going to be, I decided to use the GDB compiler. That's online, and so I'm going to replace everything between main here and I needed, when I was experimenting, I also needed to pound include the C string library on another program. Let's go ahead and see what this executes. And so if I enter a first name, Fred, and then Flintstone, and what's kind of nice about this particular command is this stars.assign will take, well, they concatenated first name plus last name, and then they counted how long it was using a .length command, which is available in your string library. You can take the length of a string, and so then they just created a row of asterisks. That's the length of the first name and last name, and they printed that above and below. So that's kind of a nice little way in order to get a line of a separator line on your screen, as an example. Program 327 uses a string copy feature, and so if we take a look at that particular program, and then the other one that we're going to look at is 330. So let me open those. 327 is demonstrating the string copy command, and so I did open that one up earlier, and that's the one that I needed to use the pound include C string. So in our textbook it doesn't have the pound include C string, but notice it is from the C string library. So when you go to execute that in our compiler, if you don't include that pound include C string up at the top, and I just did a copy, I copied over, there we go. So I found if I did not have this pound include C string on this particular example, it did not work. But this is showing how you can copy. The second argument gets copied into the first argument. So Sebastian's going to get copied into name 1, and then name 1 will get copied into name 2. And so they both hold Sebastian now. That is, they're not stored in the same memory location, because when you create an array, these are 2 separate arrays here, and so they're not the exact same memory location, but they hold the exact same string value. So that's an example of using string copy. The other program that was on our list to take a look at, I believe, was program 330, and that's using the get line feature. So if we open that up, program 330 is going to be using just get line, and the big difference here is that get line allows you to enter a line including spaces. If you don't use get line and you want to enter a whole entire sentence, it won't work because C++ automatically uses the space as a delimiter when you use cn.get. And so if you want to get a whole entire line, or you have a data file that has spaces in each line as a delimiter, you're going to have to use this cn.get line. And if you do some more research on it, you can also use other delimiters besides the spaces. Those are the sample programs that we're going to take a look at just for the introductory material. Next, we will then look at some actual data files.